Welcome to Uhus Jugger tutorials. This time we want to do a quick walkthrough through a complete team training. We'll start with warming up, we'll continue with individual training skills and with team training aspects. And last but not least, we will do a complete training match, or a short training match in fact. This is just a quick walkthrough as said, so if you want to have in-depth information about different training aspects, then you're welcome to get more information both with tutorials and with other sources, especially with professional sports teachers, for example. I can just highly recommend that, especially for the warming up exercises, because if you do them wrong, it can happen even that you hasten the danger of injury to your players instead of lowering it. So, welcome now for this quick walkthrough. Have fun!
First, warm up. The good old running offers a good base for your team to get ready for the upcoming training. During this part you can already train over the chain jump and sprints, which will be essential in your team play. Just throw in usual warm-up exercises here. Second, mobilization. To minimize the risk of injuries, certain exercises may be done to prepare the body for the stress that will be applied to it during the exercises. Leg circles, leg stretches, and everything in a mobile manner, never static, is quite a good base. Many of these are also practiced in Uechi-ryo karate training, where stretching limbs is quite important. Don't forget to do these exercises in both directions and with both limbs. During leg stretching, for example with lunges, never stay down and never keep static, always stay mobile. We don't want to have static stretching here. Always keep your body in motion and add relaxing parts to your exercises. Preparing the shoulder area is quite important because of the stress imposed on them by thrusts and lashing out. Head rolling is quite comfortable. Be careful though that you do not roll over the neck, only over the chest. Instead, flick your head from one side to the other over the shoulders, not over the neck. In this relaxing exercise you pump up a balloon by breathing in, then insides of the hands pointing out, you press down the balloon and breathe out slowly and deeply. You can also add already technical exercises in your mobilization phase, for example fencing steps. Fencing steps and technique is detailed in another Uhus Jugger tutorials and in some Uhus Jugger tutorial Qwiks. Welcome to visit them for details. The rocking stance prevents your players from standing rock still. At the same time you can practice leg evasion. For honing the skills you can do a karate style setup and train step by step. Jump up to let your body adjust to the optimal stance. For the skill training, it's advised to have your spar with you. Second, individual group training. First, distance reach training, Mensur. Two rows face each other. One is attacking and one is standing still. The attackers only have to touch the outmost part of the opponent's bodies with the tip of their spars. Rotate the rows after something like 3 attacks. Later, put up the stakes a bit by letting the stand-still player either extend a foot or a forearm. This extended body part has to be hit by the attacking player. Charge row. Charge row is a fast attack training. Players are standing in a row while the attacker is attacking one after the other in quick succession. Do not do long duels, just hit and slash and continue, no matter who is hit. The attacking player should not get a double and should not be hit himself. All in charge. Players gain more focus for their attack, but on the other hand, the other players have to wait their turn. Also, try not to get a double and not get hit at all. Focus lies on very swift and quick attacks. Zick-zack, or King of the Hill. In this special duel training, players set up in a zigzag line. Now, the attacking one from the start position continues, and every time he wins against a defender, he goes forward 1 station and continues until he reaches the king. If he wins against the king, he remains at the king's station and the king himself goes back to the starting position. If he loses against the king, then he goes back to the starting position again. If the defender of a normal station wins, he or she continues to the next station. Note that it is good to have 2 or more players more than stations, otherwise the players will have to wait too long until they get action. The circle. Players stand around a center player. Each player has a number. The number that is called attacks the central player. So he will be attacked from behind, from front, from behind again and again from behind, and so forth. You should train your overview and your reaction through this training. You can speed up the training after a while by calling numbers in quick succession. Then change the defender as you see fit. Okay, this was easy, was it? Now mix the numbers that they are not in order, or use colors or any other names like cities or something as designation for each player, and call them instead. You will see that the game becomes much more interesting now for the defending player. Chain circle. The chain circle is more or less a standard exercise for Jugger trainings, where the chain stands in the center and each one attacks one by one. Focus on the chain player to get going with their chain quickly after each attack. Zombie. With normal zombie rules, if you're hit by a player, you have to go down and wait until the player who hit you is themselves hit. So the last player standing is the player who has hit everyone else. Optionally, you may bar attacks from behind, or that any player may participate in an ongoing duel. If you have too many players, then set them up in pairs. One has a spar, the other hasn't. The spar-wielding player is now going into the circle and attacking anyone he or she wishes. If they are taken, then they go back to their teammate and hand over their spars to them. The zombie change. Here there's 1 spar missing, but the player without a spar may grab any spar of any kneeling player. That player may then get up and fetch another spar from a kneeling player. The pin escape. One player pins another player while a third player is kneeling beside him. That player may get up after 3 up to 6 stones. The goal of the kneeling player is to avoid getting hit, so he has to escape, jump up and parry. He has not to hit the pinning player. The pinning player is immune to hits. More individual training. The escape run. A player tries to run away from another player chasing him. He cannot attack the chasing player, but he has to be hit by the chaser. Retreat. 2 players retreat from 2 attackers while defending themselves. Retreat backwards. Try to reach a goal without getting hit. Team training time. The line run is a nice exercise to get your teams listen to commands during games. With Hintermann, you signal that someone is attacking from behind. As charge, players have to run forward for the opponent's goal. At fallback, they have to retreat immediately. Jump is a jump over chain command. With line, players should check whether they are holding the line. Repeat these commands in any order until they sink in. Oh yes, and dive is for diving under the chain. Beautiful. Small cross. A basic maneuver to change position during charge. The number called goes in front of the neighbor. The cube. This is a nice exercise both for team coordination and to confuse your opponents. You charge in as a cube and the back players go into the positions called.
1-4.
Let's check which number has been called for these crosses. Note that the center positions never change with each other, only the outer positions with the center position. So, what was the command? The line. It's a bit similar like the cube, but you define the positions beforehand. You charge in a line and then you spread out to your individual position. Uhus pin game. This resembles the normal pin game, but when you have pinned all your opponents, you have to switch positions so that each one of you is pinning a different player in the end. If the opponents can get up and hit one of you, the game continues, and again, when one team has pinned the other team, they all have to switch. If an opposing player can get up during the switch but is hit by your own teammates, then you have won. Note that the downtime is often only 3 stones instead for 5 stones to speed the game up.
Weiter geht's. Vergesst nicht zusammenzuziehen. Zusammenziehen. Okay, jetzt müsst ihr Pin wechseln, damit es gilt. Ohne getroffen zu werden müsst ihr Pin wechseln. Die Gegner dürfen aufstehen, aber euch nicht treffen. Gut.
Now just quickly on game training.
3, 2,
During normal Jugger matches, there are many opportunities to train different aspects of team play and everything else. For example, pause the game at a certain point and ask the players to point where the Qwik is and point where the skull is. Now, last but not least, some quick focus. Quite important for Qwiks may be to fall down without actually getting injured. The Judo falling techniques are quite helpful here. For all falling techniques, put your chin firmly on your chest. Be advised to train them only with competent supervision, because otherwise you might hurt yourself during training. Also, there's the danger of teaching yourself incorrect ways of falling, which may result in even a greater danger to yourself. Always start easily, best from a crouching position, and then work your way up. First, learn how to lie down, because there are situations where you cannot get up again, and then learn how to stand up by rolling backwards. It might be easier for you to extend one leg during falling and swing it over the opposing shoulder to get up over the shoulder. You are not rolling over your back, that's important, but over your shoulder and over your side. Also, for the other falling techniques, you're always landing on the side. The forward falling technique is a bit more advanced, so be advised to do it slowly and carefully. When you're feeling safe enough, then you may train to stand up dynamically from the forward falling position. Again, focus on rolling over your side, not over your head. From the falling techniques we come to the takedown techniques. This type of takedown is pretty easy and not too dangerous if you train it enough and apply not too much force. Important is to stand low and grab your opponent tightly around the waist. The turtle turnover. There might arise situations where the opposing Qwik is doing a turtle and protecting the skull. Then this trick might help you to open his or her defense. Ready for some real training? Well, do the Speedy breakthrough. The attacking Qwik has a skull and tries to evade the defender and score a point. Be careful with takedowns though when you're training on hard surfaces. Once the attacker is stopped, you start anew. Don't rely on sheer force, but use feints to get the skull in. Always keep in mind that we are playing for sheer joy. Winning in Jugger is not everything. Team building. Almost as important as the training aspects in Jugger is team building. Contrary to soccer, where you can just put someone on a position where he or she doesn't matter and gets nothing to do, every single player matters in a Jugger team. So, team building is quite essential and there are many ways to achieve this. We, for example, went out to the countryside and made a little ceremony for those who received their new jerseys, and a ceremony for take them into the team. Or you may use a ballotage voting system or similar to strengthen player participation and dedication. If you achieve a good atmosphere in your team, then it will be much easier for you to get good team play and cooperation, of course. Though dueling and other individual training skills are quite prominent in Jugger, you will win matches much easier with a good and thorough team play and a good team atmosphere. With Jugger, you have the chance to form lifelong friendships instead just focusing on winning the next match. If you want to know any details about the techniques shown here, you will find a lot in my former Uhus Jugger tutorials and Uhus Jugger tutorial Qwik. For example, general agility and warm-up training, pouncing techniques, and Mensur distance training. Also, the comparison of different spar types and the sort of best spar might be interesting. Thanks for watching. I would love to learn about your training techniques and training elements. Welcome and see you on the field.